Finitude Living in the Face of Death, Lecture 23. There is a great value in fully confronting our fear of death and contemplating it deliberately as a way to free ourselves from its bonds and to live our lives with greater appreciation for every moment we have. It is difficult to face our deaths, to imagine our lives ending, but it is precisely because of its impermanence that we value life so dearly. If we are able to live in the present moment completely, accepting that all things are impermanent, we can have fulfillment in this moment right now, death and life. We've all encountered death in some form, but few of us have actively thought about our own deaths. We might even think the idea sounds morbid. If you do, you are in good company. Most of us spend a lot of energy to avoid thinking about death. When death comes close, we have a variety of means at our disposal to prevent it from disturbing us too much. Our minds often function in strange ways to help keep us from thinking much about death. This clever psychological dynamics dovetail with the way society itself treats death. Our primary approach as a culture is to stave it off for as long as possible. We try to mask any signs of aging process that might suggest to ourselves and others that we are inching closer to our inevitable end. As the inevitable to death draws nearer, we attempt to keep death at bay by prolonging life artificially with advanced medical technology, often choosing to ignore the diminished quality of life such technology brings. Actually, this is really nicely put. As the inevitability of death draws nearer, we attempt to keep death at bay by prolonging life artificially with advanced medical technology, often choosing to ignore the diminished quality of life such technology brings. So true. When at last death arrives, we often experience it as a defeat rather than as a natural stage of living. Then, to further estrange us from the reality of death, we turn over the dead to a commercial funeral home, which takes care of every aspect of disposing of the body so we don't have to. Long gone are the days when families brought the dead into their own homes, where they themselves cared for the remains of their loved ones and came to terms with death in their individual ways. Removing death from our midst and disguising its approach has further contributed to our fear of this reality, thus mystifying death and leaving us unprepared for it. What's more, our inordinate fear of death has taken away one of our greatest teachers for living life. Reflecting on that, contrary to the prevailing attitudes of modern Western culture, the mindfulness tradition suggests that reflecting on that is not only liberating, but is essential to living a full, satisfying life. Buddhism is by no means the only tradition to encourage the practice of contemplating death. Meditation on death and dying has a long history in the world's wisdom traditions. Reflecting on death, especially our own, makes us so familiar with it that we no longer fear it. In addition, when we no longer fear death, we can live more freely. To remove this terror helps bring equanimity, which allows us to see the world and ourselves more clearly and to accept the fact of impermanence more completely. By fully accepting the inevitability of death with a calm mind, we come to greater clarity about what is really important in life in the light of death. Trivialities begin to fall away. Because we forget that our lives are transitory, we are prone to conflict over matters that are of little consequence. When we hold before our minds the inevitability of our death, we recognize that such inconsequential things are not worth the fight. As you noted many times, intellectually agreeing with the idea of impermanence is not sufficient to take away the fear of death and enable us to live our life joyously in the face of it. We need specific practices that help us to embrace this wisdom on a deep and unqualified level. That awareness meditation. There are a variety of different forms of mindfulness exercise that will allow you to bring awareness to the fact of your own finitude and clear the way for the insights that awareness provides. You may not find each of the following exercises equally valuable. Some of you might find too frightening to practice at this stage of your journey. You are certainly free to choose which exercises are most meaningful to you. We've all been conditioned to live within a culture that is terribly fearful of death. So please extend compassion to yourself and engage those offerings that you feel you can reasonably handle. Perhaps the easiest and least intimidating form of meditating on that is the Buddhist practice of reciting the 5 remembrance. These recitations are straightforward observations about life's fragility, and simply contemplating them can help open us to the deeper acceptance of our impermanence and the great benefits that acceptance confers. If you wish, you may recite each of the following statements. I'm subject to aging. Aging is unavoidable. I'm subject to illness. Illness is unavoidable. I'm subject to death. Death is unavoidable. I will be separated and parted from everyone and everything that is dear to me. Whatever I do, for good or for ill, that will I reap. Another series of statements known as the 9 meditations on death makes many of the same points as the 5 remembrance, but puts them in different language and elaborates some of their insights. If you wish, you may recite each of the following statements. There is no possible way to escape death. No one ever has, not even Jesus or the Buddha. Life has a definite limit, and each moment brings us closer to our death. We are dying from the moment we are born. Death comes in a moment, and its time is uncertain. All that separates us from death is one breath. The duration of our lifespan is uncertain. The young can die before the old. The healthy can die before the sick. There are many causes and circumstances that lead to death. The weakness and fragility of one's physical body contribute to life's uncertainty. Body can be easily destroyed by disease or accident. Worldly possessions such as wealth, position, and money cannot help us with the reality of death. Our relatives and friends cannot help us. Even our own precious body is of no help. We'll leave it behind like an empty shell. Like the 5 remembrance, the 9 meditations can be memorized or written down and recited each day. We are free to vary the language to make these reflections more personally meaningful. While our culture encourages us to avoid death, traditional Asian societies tend to keep the face of death in open view. In India, for example, the most common funeral is an open-air cremation preceded by a procession through the town or village where the body of the deceased is easily visible. Buddhist monastics and Hindu holy men and women will take this exposure to death even further by going to the funeral grounds and practice meditation. The practice was intended, of course, to teach these ascetics to become familiar with death and thus help eliminate their fear of it. In some countries in South and Southeast Asia, Buddhist monks were directed to go to secluded fields where corpses had been left in the open rather than buried or burned. There, they will go each day to observe the body in a gradual state of decomposition. They were encouraged to think of decaying corpses as their own. If you're inclined, you might try a variation of this exercise. Go to a graveyard, find a spot to sit, and begin breathing meditation. When your mind is clear and focused, deliberately think about the graves around you. Imagine yourself in such a grave. Imagine your body slowly combining the soil. Take your time with this practice and try to think of every aspect you can of the physical and chemical changes that will occur to your body after your death. If you feel fear or other emotions arising while you do this, be sure to pay attention. Feel your emotions as completely as you can and then let them go. Notice and appreciate the way that the idea of your own death affects you. A guided meditation for that awareness. The final example of that awareness meditation is a guided reflection in which you are invited to participate by imagining the described experiences. You can practice this meditation sitting or lying down in Shavasana, a corpse pose we use in the body scan meditation. When you are prepared, sit or lie down on your back in a spine position. Take a few breaths and become attentive to the inhalation and exhalation as the breath returns to its natural rhythm. Focus your attention for a few moments on the sensation of breathing. As you breathe, imagine a large box beside you. Picture the box as empty. Now think of your loved ones, your family and friends one at a time. Hear each person's voice. Think of them laughing and seeing them smile. Imagine embracing each one of them. Summon the love you feel for each person. Now put each person in the box beside you. Imagine that he or she disappears upon stepping into the box. There is room for every friend and every family member, yet the box is empty. Notice that you are alone. Reflect on how you feel when you realize that your friends and family are all gone. Now picture all the rooms that you live. In your mind, look at what's on the wall and on the table. See your bed, your books, and your other possessions. Put all the furniture in the box. Now put all your favorite clothes and jewelry in the box. Watch the box become empty. Imagine that you are in your house. Take the walls, the doors, the windows, the entire house itself, and put them in the box. If you have a car, put it in the box. See the box become empty. Notice everything in your neighborhood. Imagine the sounds you hear when you step outside. Imagine how it feels to have the air on your face as you move. Take a look at everything you see and put it in the box. See the box become empty. See the box become empty. Now search for the memories of places you have been and people you have known. As you think of them, cherish them and then put them in the box. Put everything in the box. Memories, music, trees, grass, and even the sky. All that is left is you and the box. See the box become empty. Now put yourself in the box. See the box become empty. See the box disappear. See only emptiness. Be with this moment. Notice what you feel. Feel it fully. That will come in an ordinary moment just like this one. Now return to your awareness, to the breath. Feel your heart beating. Notice how wonderfully it is to be alive. When you're ready to end the meditation, slowly move your fingers and toes and then arms, legs. Feel the floor beneath you. Open your eyes and gently stretch. Notice how your body feels. Give yourself ample time before you get up. Now is a good time to remember the importance of treating yourself with compassion, and be compassionate with yourself if you found this meditation hard to practice. Take a few moments to be grateful for where you are and who you are right now. Questions to consider. What was your first experience with death? When did you come to know that you'll one day die? How have those experiences affected your outlook on death today? Assess how comfortable you are with your own impermanence. The first questions I remember the feeling when I was a child girl, like when I was a young girl, when I was a child. Like I think if I'm not making up in my mind, if I'm not fantasizing, I think I asked my mom, like maybe I told my mom that, or maybe I didn't. I don't really know. Like sometimes I don't know if I'm fantasizing up from my mind. But I feel, even if maybe I didn't talk to my mom, I know that that the feeling was real. It was true. I was feeling like if I die, I didn't want to die alone. I just wanted my mom to die with me. Like I didn't want to die alone. Like I was so scared of dying alone. Like I was so selfish that I didn't want to die alone. Like if I want to die, like if I'm about to die, I just want someone else to die with me. Like I never wanted to die alone. And I had how many times? I had a few near-death experience. One is when I was a child. I think I was maybe, as far as I heard from my mom and my family, maybe 1 year old or 3 years old. I dropped from the balcony, from the second floor or third floor or second floor, yeah, from the balcony, because at that time we didn't have any protection in the balcony. It was just built, like the house, it was just built, and there was no any protection on the balcony. And I was crawling, and I just dropped from the balcony because there was no, I guess maybe my mom and my sisters, maybe they were busy at that time, and I just crawled, and then from the balcony I just dropped. Then they say that at that time I was bleeding, and they took me to the hospital. But before they take me to the hospital, my sister told me that she put me under the cold water, like to kind of like have a shock effect or something, I don't know. And then they took me to the hospital, and I somehow resurrect. Like they told me that I kind of died, and then I come back. The second time that I remember fully, that I was around 14 years old, 14 and 15, yeah, I guess it was 14. I was taking shower, and I mean before that maybe I can give summary about what was the problem. Prior to what was happening to me, like there was a period of time that when people come to our house, they were just failing, like they were just passing out, and we didn't understand what was the reason. Like the guests will come to our house, and then they will just sleep, like they will just pass out. And I remember even one time one of the guests came to our house, and then she went to the toilet, and in the toilet she passed out. And then like we didn't understand what was going on. And you know, my family, they have so much cultic ideas. Like if there is such kind of situation happening in your house, there must be some kind of evil eye or bad eye. Yeah, this kind of stuff we tend to believe. Especially I remember my mom, my dad, my mom, like she tend to believe this kind of stuff. And I remember we even went to so many shrines and so many holy places. Like when I was a child, I was just going everywhere along with my parents. because I had a disabled brother, and they always thought that there must be some cure through some holy man, through some holy woman, through some shrines or some this kind of way. There must be some cure. And so we were going everywhere, traveling so many places, so many mysterious places that doesn't look like Earth at all. Like those places, I mean, in Anatolia there are places that it looks so mysterious, like so weird, like so out of world. I'm sure that in the whole world there are so many places that look really mysterious, like so old and so full of mystery. So yeah, I was grow up in a really mysterious house with mysterious beliefs. Yeah, and so yeah, I went to, because everyone was passing out in our house, and that time I went to take a shower, and I take off my clothes, and then I locked the door of the bathroom, and then I was taking I started to take a shower. Then I remember I started to feel like my energy is getting, it's like a phone, like you're like maybe 20% charged, or maybe like let's say 50% charged, but suddenly you are feeling like your energy is getting sucked out, like you feel like really your energy is getting drained. And I felt at that moment like my body's maybe battery was like 50%, and suddenly I felt like it's getting 30%, 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%, and then I was like 0. I was crying during this period, like I was during this deranging of my energy. I started to cry because I was feeling something going on, like my body is getting less and less aware, and less, and like life, like slowly I'm becoming lifeless. And I was like kind of like putting all my effort to scream that someone hear me out, and at the same time, because I locked the door, and in the interim of my energy getting less and less, I felt a little awareness, and I had little consciousness, and I said, okay, this is a fearful situation, this is a scary situation, I must I must unlock the door before I passed out. That at that moment on my finger there was almost like no energy even to unlock the door, and just before I passed out, I put all my energy to unlock the door, and then I passed out. Thank God that my mom, I guess, heard, or my brother heard that I was crying in the shower, and then they come, and I was naked at that time. It was so embarrassing. I guess my mom or my brother, they tell my brother at that time, and my brother come to the shower. I was naked, and he take me on his shoulder, and my sister or my mom, they dressed me up. At that time, I don't remember what happened, but I remember I guess it was my sister or my mom. They told me that they dressed me up, and then they were calling my name and stuff. And later they called my dad, because in our house we cannot do anything without the permission of my dad. And then my dad came, and then my dad put me in his car, and he just drove, and he started to drive in the whole city. I don't even know what was he thinking in his mind. He was just driving the car all around, and he was expecting me to come back, and eventually I really came back. It is really so weird. I really came back, I guess, because he also opened all the windows, and we were all like rolling all around in the city. And then we finally realized that there was a gas leaking. The natural gas was there was a leaking of gas in our house. That is the reason everyone who was coming our house like passing out. And I don't know like how we even survived at that time. And someone, I don't know who told me, I don't know, like someone told me that, I guess maybe I shouldn't say, but, or maybe I should, like someone told me that maybe it was my dad was purposely trying to kill us at that time. Like I don't even know, like was it true or not. But right now when I think about it, like he didn't even take me to the hospital. Maybe he was aware of it, what was going on. But if he was aware of it, why would he do that? Like I don't, but anyway, like the world is full of weird people. And I would say with confidence that my dad's side is full of psychopath and sociopath and some other problems, unfortunately. And also like my dad's side also had crime history, and my dad on top of that, like my dad had 2 guns. Like I don't know, like choosing a life of such sort, it's really interesting. Like I don't know, like my higher self choose such kind of that to evolve, and he has chosen such kind of personality to exist in the world. But eventually he taught us so many things. Like he taught us how to be independent, he taught us how to choose ourselves no matter what. Like no matter what, you should choose yourself. Oh God, I changed the whole topic, but yeah, I experienced near-death experience, like, and so I don't know if I'm fearful of that right now. I guess still, I guess, I don't know, like I have to think for a moment to say whether it's true. Am I fearful? I guess maybe I am, yeah. But since I experienced this kind of death experience a few times, maybe I'm not as scared as before. But yeah, the meditation at here, I think is very nice. Putting everyone in the box and eventually put yourself in the box and feeling that emptiness. That's a very good meditation, and I'll try that often.